Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and very different video that we're going to have this week. All things charging related, all things electricity related. So I've decided, as you guys have seen in the media, inflation apparently is at an all-time high and everyone's got increased cost of living for everything, and electricity is absolutely one of those key components that contribute. You probably would have received an email or notification from your provider that from the 1st of July the electricity price is going up. In some instances 20, 30, 40, 50% it's going up, and it's just not something that we need. So what I've essentially done is I've made a Google spreadsheet in terms of comparisons for myself. So if you guys do live in the hills, potentially you could use that as a comparison, or wherever you are you could use that as a comparison. It's essentially a template that you guys can delete the data and just fill in where I've got all the yellow boxes, and you can put what you've currently got on your existing plans, and you can put in the 1st of July price hikes in there, and you guys can compare to see how much difference it is. You could also put in various companies as well to do the quick comparison. So all you really need to do is input the figures that the electricity company you're looking at has given you. So i.e. the cents per kilowatt hour that it's going to cost you, the supply charge, if there's feed-in tariffs, you could do all of that, and then the total number or the total figure, it just spits it out down the bottom, and then hopefully you make the switch to whatever is most cost beneficial for you guys in your situation. The other reason why I've done this, besides the fact that prices are increasing, is also because, as you guys know, I've got an EV now, and based on having solar, what I used to care about mostly was the biggest feed-in tariff, because I've got a decently sized system, which is 9.24 kilowatt system, and previously, before owning an EV, I used to be positive cash flow per year. So actually electricity companies used to actually be paying me every year, and I didn't used to pay for electricity. However, and I'll put some screenshots up so you guys can see actually prior to owning an EV and now having an EV, what the actual charge scales look like. So if you have a look at this first picture over here, you'll see that, you know, for the most part didn't use too much electricity through the day. Yes, I did use it at night when we're home cooking and whatnot, but for the most part, for a clean day, that's pretty much how the bell curve look like, or the chart. And then you can see that for the days where we are charging, you can see that using Charge HQ, it essentially uses the data from my solar and it matches it to the output of the car to charge. And you can see that pretty much most of the electricity has been used. So what that essentially means is, and the message that I just want to make sure everyone's across is, if you do have an electric car or you do have heavy usage, whether it's for like your pool pump heating or anything, don't just go looking specifically for the highest feed-in tariff cost, because that may not necessarily work out the best for you, because there are some instances where I've seen some plans recently where they say there's a ridiculously cheap offer to charge your car, but then the normal usage for every cents per kilowatt hour is something ridiculous, like 44 cents or something, whereas the market rate is in the 20s or 30s. So you're probably not going to be as good off, I guess you won't be as better off using those deals in that instance. So yeah, either way, let's jump straight in through to the spreadsheet and I'll talk you guys through how you guys can do it. Okay, so on this spreadsheet here, essentially I've got on row 3, I've got all the names across the top that I've been researching myself. So again, for my specific situation, and this is what I've documented here, so you guys can use this, I guess, as a starting point. For where I live, I've only got one tariff for usage, and I've got one tariff for I've got one amount for the usage, and I've got one amount for the feed-in tariff. So I don't have the peak, off-peak, and shoulder, but I have created those sections too for you guys to do the comparison. So I'll talk you guys through. So as I said, first comparison is between the companies. I've just listed some of these across the top over here, so you guys can just, if you are here, just right click above any of these columns towards the end and you can insert more rows if you guys do need to, or just type over any of the existing information. I've made it very easy so that you guys just have to fill in the yellow, and not even all the yellow needs to be filled in. So I've got the bare minimum, because based on where I live, I've just got one peak figure, I've got one supply figure, I know it's for 91 days for my bill, and I've got one feed-in tariff, which gives me the figure down the bottom. So I'll talk you through the first example, which is in column B. What it essentially means is, and I've done the figure comparison between December to February, because most companies, I guess, do it by quarter, with exception to like Powershop, which is monthly. But regardless, I've worked it out to be the 91 days so that it kind of follows suit to what everyone else or most other companies do. And I've got December to Feb here because usually my thinking is we would use the most electricity, whether it's for swimming pool, air conditioning and so forth, during the summer period. And then if you scroll down, I've actually got the same thing, but I've got it for the winter months. So they're two exactly the same. I've just put two there just so that you guys can take into consideration two key differences, because again, as I said, prior to having an EV, you can see that the usage that I have during the winter months does actually cost me more than the summer period because of the lesser feed-in tariff that I get during the winter months. So less I guess. Jumping back to the top. So currently I am with Powershop. So you can see that I've used 1,199 kilowatt hours, which technically costed $354.90 based on the charge of 29.6 cents per kilowatt hour. I don't have any off-peak or shoulder periods here, but I have included that here for the ones that do matter, for the ones that do have that as a part of their electricity plan. So feel free to dump the figures in. It doesn't necessarily have anything. There is no correlation to the word off-peak or shoulder here. These are essentially just two additional field points for you guys to put additional charges for electricity. What you need to essentially do here is input how much electricity you're using and what the various costs are. So you can put up to 3 here. Then you've got your supply cost, which is, I guess, just a given, how much it costs you guys to be connected to the company every day, and then however many days you want to put in there. As I said, in most cases, it's going to be 91 if you do pay for the 3 months or thereabouts. Otherwise, you can put in, if it's for Powershop as an example, you could put 31 days if you'd like, and then whatever those relevant figures are, and then it'll tell you average costs. Scrolling further down, feed-in tariff currently 13 cents per kilowatt hour, and I exported 3,432, which means the total feed-in tariff that I've got here was 446.16. And again, down the bottom over here, I've got two feed-in tariffs because I know that there are some companies that I guess give you a staggered amount. So i.e. some might go, and I'm just making these numbers up, some might go, okay, cool, we'll give you 10 cents per kilowatt hour for the first 15 kilowatt hours that you guys export, and then following that it drops down to 5. So all you need to essentially do is look at your export rates, and you need to fill in that first section there, and then you can fill in the second section there, which will give you an overall total. Now, after the deductions and all of that, this overall total down here is probably the one that matters most. So clear example using the information that you see on the screen at the moment is between December to February, based on the 91 days that I've done the work through, my electricity cost was $2.79. However, based on filling all the same information with the new Powershop increases, my bill is actually going to be $132.94. And the key difference, as you can see here, is the supply has gone up by roughly 17 cents, 16 point something per day. And then you'll see that there is almost a, 7-cent increase also for the usage, which comes down to $132.94. So that's obviously estimated based on my previous summer or December to February use. And that's essentially how you guys should use the calculation as you go through. And I guess the other call out I just want to quickly talk through is, don't just look at the comparison rates now and take that as gospel as that is the best rate. Whatever things you do now in terms of comparison, if the company doesn't specifically state these are the new proposed rates after 1st of the 7th, you guys will need to do this again, because the rates are going to go up within the next week, or pretty much next week. And the example that I wanted to talk through was, if you look at these AGL ones, so I inputted the same data or the same usage that I currently do, and you can see based on the website at the moment for the value saver and the basics plan, these were going to be my amounts, 252 and 279. However, with the increase after 1st of July, because they've already advertised their prices there too, you can see it goes from 252.29 to 380 and 279.40 to $400.68. That's a really significant increase that you guys can see there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, if you do the comparison from, say, Powershop 1st of the 7th, and you don't look at specifically 1st of the 7th for the other companies, i.e. you're comparing after July to before July for like AGL, you're going to see that in some instances, your figures are going to look very different as we kind of go through all of the other options that you see here. Now, jumping down to the bottom bit, you can see, so $2.79 was my summer period here. If I jump back down here, June to August, you can see my winter month here is about $236.75, and with the new one it's going to be $345. So again, as I said, something that you'll really need to take into consideration, because if I was just looking at AGL as an example, using that again, if I did not input 1st of the 7th, I would essentially be looking at $345 for new Powershop, and then AGL currently at $335. So on the AGL one specifically, I think there is a box there that says give me the rates for after 1st of July. If you only did the comparison like that, it would look like AGL is cheaper, but actually in essence, if you did go with AGL versus Powershop from July, I'd be looking at roughly during the winter months $345.22 versus $459. So I'd be a lot worse off. So that's why this is so important to track. And so yeah, that's essentially all I wanted to cover off. Companies at the top, fill in all the yellows. The bare minimum is essentially one of these kilowatt hour peak figures that you've got here. You can factor up to 3 of those. You've then got the supply amount that you definitely have to fill out. The dates by default I've put there as 91. Change it to what you want. Fill in your feed-in tariff if there is anything, and then look at the figures down the bottom. So you only have to do one of them realistically, but I put it there so that you could do multiple comparisons and then just add up the totals between the summer months and the winter months, and I guess you at least have the average in that case. If you are interested in switching to Powershop, because at this point in time I most likely will just stay with Powershop, I've got a referral to the top right over there, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys do use that. Good luck in your hunting. Let me know how you guys go, and if you've got any feedback for the spreadsheet, any fields you feel like you need to change, hit me up. There's contact email there, or put it in the comment section on the YouTube video below. And yeah, the spreadsheet's free, as I said. There's no charge. It's just something I feel like, you know, it's tough times. Everyone should be paying the best deal that they can get, because we know that lots of other businesses are making crazy profits. And yeah, give it a like and subscribe if this video helped you. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you soon.